Ross says, you're absolutely correct. Most of what we encounter on the subject of healthcare in Mexico is next to irrelevant. He's talking about videos and people that mention healthcare, if at all, on a video about how to move to Mexico, or it sidesteps the really important questions. So let me explain what he's talking about. We made a video on basically healthcare in Mexico and why we were not moving to Mexico at the time. And the reason that is we were planning on moving. We had everything relatively set. Like mentally, we were prepared to move. We had some logistics to do, such as residency and stuff like that, but we wanted to move. If anything, we're going to move down for the 180 days that you normally can get. Normally, it's changed a little bit, but that you can normally get as a U.S. citizen. And we were going down to Merida, which is over in the Yucatan. 2 days before we left, my wife was told that she may have cancer. Turned out it was, in fact, cancer. That threw a little bit of a monkey wrench in things. We asked the doctor, we said, look, I mean, we're leaving in 2 days. We're going to LAX and we're flying to Merida for a month. We've got the Airbnb, everything's set. Flights, we're taking our cat. I mean, we are literally gone in 2 days. Do we need to cancel? And they said, no, go anyway. It's going to take us a week or two to determine if it's in fact cancer, get the labs back. And then it'll take us a week or two to set up all the doctors. But once you get back, you're going to be very busy. So the trip that was going to be scouting and seeing where we want to live in different neighborhoods, all that changed to this may be our last vacation for a while. So we're going to go down and just enjoy living there, being there for the month and checking it all out, but knowing we're going to come back. What never really entered our mind was to just go, because the problem with this is this. We had thought about, we're 52 years old. We had never had any major health scare. We had thought about, well, what if you break your finger? What if you twist an ankle? What if you have to get stitches? Something, all these sort of normal things that we don't normally do anyway, but what if those things happen? Well, if you watch a lot of YouTube videos on people that go to Mexico, they'll tell you it's all relatively inexpensive. You can go in, and there was the couple, the Kinetic Kennons, they were out of Puerto Vallarta. He broke his ankle or something one time, and I want to say it was $150. It was really cheap for x-rays and everything else. So in our mind, we kept thinking, oh, okay, great. We got plenty of cash sort of set aside for that. What's the main problem? We can pay for a doctor and they'll get our prescriptions and we'll go we can do all that with cash in hand. Cancer's a little different. And until that moment, we had never really thought of cancer. Shame on us, but we had never really thought of it. So we immediately started to realize, well, we don't have insurance down there. Cancer is not a one and done thing. We don't just go into a doctor and take care of it. This is an ongoing, turned out to be a year and a half of ongoing chemo, radiation, all these different things. Does insurance cover that? What is the out of pocket for constantly going for chemo and radiation? I mean, she was going for radiation once a day, chemo every other week, constantly going to do a doctor. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot. It was overwhelming. And quite frankly, we were very scared. We we don't know where this is going to go, how bad it was going to turn out. And we didn't want to have to try to navigate the whole healthcare system and the insurance and all that sort of thing as our first step of moving to Mexico. That would have been the first thing we would did once we moved into an Airbnb or whatever the case. The very first thing we would have done is had to deal with this cancer thing. And quite frankly, although it's much more expensive here in the U.S., we had insurance that was covering us. We knew the system. We spoke English. I'm not going to downplay that at all. We spoke English. We speak English. I speak a little bit of Spanish. Not very much, but a little bit I can get by. But I want to know that when the doctor says anything, I am picking up on what he is and is not, or she is not saying. The subtleties, the nuances. I had actually a little bit of an argument when the first day that he was saying cancer. He was saying, yeah, it looks like cancer. And I was like, look, you're telling me it looks like cancer. I hear cancer because I don't deal with cancer every day. When I hear cancer, I think death. You as a doctor may see it differently, but you need to put some expectations in our head because we don't know what your how bad this is, and we're trying to read it. Well, none of that conversation could have happened if I was having to translate from Spanish on Google Translate, or if the doctor spoke English but maybe not as his first language, so we're missing something in the interpretation. So people don't talk about any of that in most of the videos about moving to Mexico and the healthcare. They have excellent doctors. Yes, they have excellent hospitals in Mexico. The insurance there is relatively inexpensive compared to US. They have a great healthcare system. I just didn't want cancer to be the first exposure to it. I hope you can understand it. Some people gave us grief over that because, you know, it's the internet and people give you grief over everything. But the reality was I didn't not trust the system down there. I didn't trust me to fully understand it, embrace it, and quite frankly, just the energy to deal with her and her cancer, and she having to deal with having cancer while we're trying to integrate ourselves in a new society. It's just a lot, and I think people could understand it. But again, there's always some idiot on the internet that has a better opinion of that. But yeah, it's a big deal. Think about that kind of stuff. Also, something about healthcare or health insurance, I should say, in Mexico. Most health insurance in Mexico, I would say all, but you never know. But most health insurance in Mexico does not cover pre-existing for 2 years. So meaning she had cancer, which meant any insurance we were to buy, private insurance, wouldn't have covered her anyway. So everything would have been out of pocket. Still may have been cheap. I don't know. But keep that in mind. If you've just had a heart attack or you just had some sort of big medical condition, cancer of some sort, you can go to Mexico, you can buy private insurance, but more often than not, that particular issue is going to be excluded for 2 years before they will then start to cover. Here in the United States, thanks to the ACA or Obamacare, as most people are familiar with, we have pre-existing coverage that is part of the law, so they have to cover you. So, that being said. Hey, I really hope you liked that video. Why not check out some of the other videos in our question and answer series? A lot of great information. But if you have a question, make sure you drop a comment and let me know. I'm glad to answer it. In the meantime, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified every time we drop a new video. In the meantime, keep on trucking.